County Fiscal Court here on April the 6th, 2021. At this time, Mr. Griffey, would you mind leading us in a prayer? And then Ms. Walls, would you mind leading us in the pledge after Mr. Griffey finishes the prayer, please?
Let's go ahead and pray. Heavenly Father, thank you for the opportunity to come together. We lift up each one of the members of this court, the decisions that need to be made, the things that we need to discuss. Lord, we ask for protection over the county, the state, and our country. Be with each one of us as we go forward. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you. Okay.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States.
of America, and to
and
the
to the republic
One nation.
nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Griffey and Ms. Walls. Thank you all. At this time, Sam, would you call the roll so we can start the proceedings?
Yes, sir. Mr. Mitchell,
Yes.
Mr. Logsdon,
Yes.
Mr. Laswell, Mr. Laswell, you're muted.
Raise your hand, Joe. There you go.
And then Judge Summers.
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you all. Treasurer's transfer report, Ms. Sharp.
Judge, I don't have one for today. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Canan.
Uh-huh.
Presentation and approval of all bills.
Look forward motion.
I'll second that.
Got a motion by First District Magistrate Mitchell, a second by Second District Magistrate Logsdon to approve all bills as presented today. Any discussion? Sam, call the roll, please.
Mr. Logsdon,
Yes.
Mr. Laswell,
Yes.
Judge Summers,
Yes,
Mr. Mitchell.
Yes.
Motion carried.
thank you. Approval of the minutes from March the 16th of 2021.
Make a motion, we approve the minutes dated March 16th, 2021.
Second.
Got a motion by Second District Magistrate Logsdon, a second by Third District Magistrate Laswell to approve the minutes of March 16th of 2021 as presented. Any discussion, members of the court? Hearing none. Sam, call the roll, please.
Mr. Laswell,
Yes.
Judge Summers,
Yes,
Mr. Mitchell,
Yes.
Mr. Logsdon.
Yes.
Motion carried.
thank you, Sam. At this time, we have no presentations. Under old business, we have the second reading of amendment to ordinance 1911, adding a specific fee to the small farm wineries. Rob?
Yes, Judge, this be a second reading in Commonwealth, Kentucky, Bullitt County, ordinance number 21-06. An ordinance amending ordinance 19-11, reaffirming and imposing a license fee upon certain businesses, occupations, and trades, trafficking in permitted alcoholic beverages within Bullitt County, Kentucky. Whereas KRS 243.060 allows fiscal courts to impose license fees upon any business, occupation, or trade conducted in Bullitt County and engaged in the lawful trafficking of alcoholic beverages. Now therefore be ordained by the fiscal court of County of Bullitt, Kentucky as follows. Section 1, each person engaged for compensation in any trade, occupation, or business within Bullitt County, Kentucky, including all persons located within any municipality, which are also engaged in the lawful trafficking or sale of alcoholic beverages as licensed or permitted by the Commonwealth of Kentucky, pursuant to KRS Chapter 243, shall procure from the Bullitt County Judge Executive's Office an annual license and shall pay to the county a license fee for such license according to the schedule set out in Section 5 of this ordinance. Section 2, as used in this ordinance, the word person shall include corporations, joint stock companies, partnerships, associations, proprietorships, individuals, or any other legal entity. Section 3, the revenue derived from the license fees herein levied shall be paid into and become a part of the general fund of the county. Section 4, the license tax herein levied shall be due on the first day of July in each year unless otherwise stated. Persons desiring to operate for only part of a license year after July 1 of any particular year shall be permitted to pay a prorated fee equal to as many twelfths of the annual license fee as there are in the calendar months remaining in the license year, including the month in which the license is granted. A license fee shall be deemed delinquent if not paid within 30 days after same becomes due, and a penalty of 20% of the amount of the fee shall be added thereto upon delinquency, with an additional 20% penalty being added for each month of continuing delinquency thereafter. Section 5, the following fees are hereby fixed per annum. Quota retail package license, $1,000. Quota retail drink license, $1,000. Non-quota type 2 retail drink license, $1,000. Non-quota type 3 retail drink license, $300. Non-quota retail malt beverage package license, $400. Non-quota type 4 retail malt beverage drink license, $400. Special temporary license, $166. Limited restaurant license, $1,400. Limited golf course license, $1,400. Small farm winery malt beverage drink license, $200. Section 6, if any persons issued a city license under KRS 243.070, then the county shall not impose any fees or issue a license to said entity under this ordinance. Section 7, in determining which categories of licenses a person may be required to acquire, the classification provisions of the Kentucky Revised Statutes, Chapter 243, and the regulations promulgated thereunder by the Kentucky Alcohol Control Board shall apply. Section 8, this ordinance shall take effect upon passing publications required by law, and prorating of license fees shall begin with and include the month of April 2021. Section 9, if any provision of this ordinance be deemed unconstitutional or invalid for any reason by a court of competent jurisdiction, such provision shall be deemed a separate provision, and such shall not affect the validity of the remaining provisions of this ordinance. Section 10, all ordinances and resolutions to the extent they are inconsistent herewith are hereby repealed. Be it so ordained by the Bullitt County Fiscal Court, given first reading at a regular meeting of the Bullitt County Fiscal Court on the 16th day of March 2021, given second reading, voted on, and passed at a regular meeting of the Bullitt County Fiscal Court on the 6th day of April 2021.
Thank you, Rob. I will make the motion to approve the amendment to ordinance 19-11 for a specific fee for the small farm wineries.
Second.
I have a second by Magistrate Laswell. Any discussion, gentlemen? Hearing none. Sam, would you call the roll, please?
Judge Summers,
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell,
Yes.
Mr. Logston,
Yes.
Mr. Laswell.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Under old business again, the second reading of ordinance 21-01, the Highway 245 Tourism Overlay. Rob?
Yes, sir. This be common with Kentucky Bullitt County ordinance number 21-07, an ordinance relating to the creation of and adoption of a special tourism overlay district for the Kentucky Highway 245 area of Bullitt County. Whereas the Fiscal Court of Bullitt County desires to protect and accentuate the unique characteristics related to tourism of the Kentucky Highway 245 corridor in Bullitt County. Whereas the Fiscal Court has considered the favorable recommendation of the Joint Planning Commission for the Kentucky 245 Tourist Overlay District and concurs in and adopts the reasons of the Joint Planning Commission for said overlay district and approves and accepts the favorable recommendation of the Planning Commission. Now therefore be ordained by the Fiscal Court of the County of Bullitt, Commonwealth, Kentucky. Section 1, the Fiscal Court creates the Kentucky 245 Tourist Overlay District as designated in the attached map, which is incorporated by reference herein, and adopts the attached Special Overlay District, Kentucky 245 Tourism District provisions, which is adopted in its entirety and incorporated by reference as is set out in full herein. Section 2, the Bullitt County Planning and Zoning Office is hereby directed to incorporate the adopted Kentucky 245 Tourist Overlay District into the official zoning regulations and any other necessary documents and forms to ensure proper application and enforcement. Section 3, any section, subdivision, sentence, or clause this ordinance be held unconstitutional or invalid for any reason by any court of competent jurisdiction, and such portion shall be deemed a separate, distinct, and independent provision, and such holding shall not affect the validity of the remaining portions of this ordinance. Section 4, this ordinance shall take effect upon passage and publications required by law, given first reading at a regular meeting of the Fiscal Court of Bullitt County, Kentucky on the 16th day of March 2021, given second reading, public hearing, and vote upon at a regular meeting of the Fiscal Court of Bullitt County, Kentucky on the 6th day of April 2021.
Okay. Thank you, Rob. And again, I'll make that motion to approve the zoning ordinance 21-07, the Highway 245 Tourism Overlay.
I'll second that.
Got a second by Second District Magistrate Logston. Any discussion, members of the court? Hearing none. Sam, call the roll, please.
Judge Summers,
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell,
Yes.
Mr. Logston,
Yes.
Mr. Laswell,
Yes.
motion carried.
Thank you, Sam. Old business under number 3, the handbook review from the magistrates. Magistrates, if you've had time to review it, I would like to hear comments on it for the April 20th meeting. Yeah,
Members of the court and everything, I've gone through this book quite a bit and everything, but I've got something I want to put on the floor and everything. I would like to put in form of a motion that every one of the department heads be presented with this handbook. And doing so, that we form a committee and everything of the people that's on the department heads, and they start reviewing this book. If they do it weekly or bi-weekly or however they want to do it and everything, and get back with us within the next 60 days. Because this proposed handbook deals with things that the department heads are going to have to deal with on a day-to-day basis. And I'd like to have their input and everything from them before I make a vote on this handbook. And I'd like to put that in form of a motion.
Does it have to be 60 days, Dennis? I don't have a problem with the department heads looking at it, but where are we at now? It's April. It would be nice to have this thing voted on, accepted, and implemented, but I know when we start by the time we start our new fiscal year, I've looked over it quite a bit in depth too, and I know Judge Summers and Ms. Parrish and Rhonda, y'all have done a lot of work putting this thing in together. But I don't have a problem with that, Dennis. I don't know about 60 days, maybe 30 days is sufficient so that we can get this thing accepted and adopted and move forward. But when are you proposing, Judge, to vote on this, accept it? April 20?
Well, I would like to have the finishing comments on the, let's see, days, the 16th, the 6th, 13th, and the 20th, and implemented the first court meeting in May, which I believe is the 2nd, 3rd, should be the 4th of May. I believe that should be a Tuesday. If I'm running the numbers right through my, right
Yes.
here. So, because we've had this out for over a year now. And it just keeps dragging on and on and on. And Magistrate Mitchell, I hear your concerns, but they've all had opportunities to look at it. They've had opportunities for input. And I know that the handbook's been distributed out to them as well.
Just the two of them, just the two of them that I presented it to and everything. But I did hear from some of the other departments and everything that they did not have a copy of this handbook. And if 60 days is too long, I don't have a problem with going 30 days.
I think 60 days, Magistrate Mitchell, is way too long because we've had this for over a year. There's been a lot of effort, a lot of what I'm going to say, capital put into this by our employees. So I think by the 20th should be sufficient because they've had opportunities to look at this. They know it's here, and we are here for good government, and that's what
Well, I
this
agree
handbook's all about.
I agree with that. I agree with that 100% and everything. But
So if you'll push this back to the 20th, I'll second your motion.
well, I mean, is there time and everything? I'd like for
There-
these department heads and everything to go through this and review us and give us their comments and everything in regards to this. And then we can consider their comments and then vote on it. And I don't think that at least 30 days, I don't think 30 days is too far off. If we went for the first meeting in May, I don't see that being a problem.
I would like to have it finalized at the first meeting in May. I would like to have all their comments back in writing to the members of this court by the 20th.
I don't have a problem with that if that's agreeable with the court and everything. But I do feel strongly about the department heads giving us their comments and everything. And if we get that on by the next court meeting, then I will be ready to vote on the handbook and everything on the 1st of May. So I think everybody's pretty much agreeable to that. So that's kind of where I stand on it and everything. And I'll go with that on the motion for the 1st of May for us to vote on it but for them to get their comments back to us by the next court meeting that we've got on the 20th of April.
Yeah, I feel comfortable with that too. And that way, Judge, if any of the department heads chooses to, not take advantage of this opportunity, or if they haven't already in the past, at least now we know that there's 2 weeks for them to make comments regarding the handbook. They've got 2 weeks left. We'll review all the comments, I assume, at the next meeting, and then the following meeting we'll vote on accepting the handbook. Is that correct?
That'll be great.
Okay. Magistrate Laswell, any concerns?
No, I'm good with that.
Okay. So at this time, the way that I heard your motion, Magistrate Mitchell, is this: the comments will be back from the department heads by the 20th, and we will take a vote on the handbook on the May the 4th meeting.
That'll be great. And that can be included in my motion then.
Okay. And I'll second that motion. Any other discussion, gentlemen? Hearing none. Sam, call the roll, please.
Mr. Mitchell,
Yes.
Mr. Logston,
Yes.
Mr. Laswell,
Yeah,
Judge Summers.
Yes,
Motion carried.
thank you. Under new business, the first reading and public hearing of zoning ordinance 2021 Z-09, Merrill and Deanna Hanson.
Hey, Judge, can you hear me?
Yes,
All
go
right.
ahead, Charlie.
So 2021 Z09, Merrill, Indiana Henson, rezoning from conservation to ag, located at 1529 South Sanders Lane. 12.72 acres, more or less. Based on the testimony of the applicants and the proponents, the Bullitt County Planning Commission sends a favorable recommendation. The zoning change is in agreement with the adopted comprehensive plan. There were no objections.
Okay, Rob, please, sir.
Yes, sir. This will be the first reading, Commonwealth of Kentucky, County of Bullitt, zoning ordinance number 21-08. An ordinance relating to the changing of zoning of certain property from conservation to agricultural. The property in question is 12.72 acres, more or less, located at 1529 South Sanders Lane in an unincorporated area of the county. Whereas the fiscal court of Bullitt County has considered the evidence of the public hearing held by the Joint Planning Commission and the recommendations of the commission, the information provided in the staff report of the Office of Bullitt County Planning and Zoning, and the testimony and evidence presented at the public hearing held by the fiscal court. Whereas the fiscal court concurs in and adopts the reasons of the Joint Planning Commission for said zoning change and approves and accepts the recommendations of the Planning Commission in this matter as set out in said minutes, and determines that the proposed zoning change is acceptable and should be approved. And now therefore be it ordained by the fiscal court of County of Bullitt, Commonwealth of Kentucky, Section 1, the above property located in the unincorporated area of Bullitt County, and more particularly described in the minutes and records of the Planning Commission and docket number 2021 Z-09, is hereby changed from conservation to agricultural. Section 2, this ordinance will take effect upon passage and publication as required by law. Section 3, change section provision of part of this ordinance to be declared unconstitutional or invalid for any reason by a court of competent jurisdiction. And the remainder of this ordinance shall not be affected and shall remain in full force and effect. Section 4, all ordinances and resolutions to the extent they are inconsistent herewith are hereby repealed. Given first reading and public hearing at a regular meeting of the Bullitt County Fiscal Court on the 6th day of April 2021, to be given second reading and voted upon at a regular meeting of the Bullitt County Fiscal Court on the 20th day of April 2021.
Thank you, Rob. Is anyone here to speak for zoning ordinance 2021 Z-09, Merrill and Deanna Hanson? Is anyone here to speak against zoning ordinance 2021 Z-09, Merrill and Deanna Hanson? Hearing none.
Can I ask a question, everything on that? You pretty much got a lot of things, similarities and everything in your agriculture and the conservation zone. Was there any particular reason why they wanted to go with go to the ag from the conservation? I mean, was there a particular reason on that?
I can't answer that specifically. They own about 15 acres total. They are going to sell off the larger portion with the existing home. And then the next case that I'll read is 1.4 acres, and they're going to build a smaller home on it. So they're basically downsizing.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Magistrate Mitchell. Any other discussion, members of the court? Thank you, Rob. Action item number 2, the first reading and public hearing of zoning ordinance 2021 Z-10. Again, Merle and Deanna Hanson. Mr. Spalding,
2021 Z-10, Maryland, Deanna Hanson, rezoning from conservation to R1, located at 1529 South Sanders Lane. 1.4 acres more or less. Based on the testimony at the March 11th Planning Commission meeting, the Planning Commission sends a favorable recommendation for the change. The change is in agreement with the comprehensive plan, and there were no objections stated that evening.
okay. Thank you, Charlie. Rob,
Yes, sir. This will be the first reading in Commonwealth, Kentucky County of Bullitt, zoning ordinance number 21-09. An ordinance relating to the changing of zoning of certain property from conservation to R1 residential. The property in question is 1.40 acres more or less, located at 1529 South Sanders Lane in an unincorporated area of the county. Whereas the fiscal court of Bullitt County has considered the evidence of the public hearing held by the Joint Planning Commission and the recommendations of the commission, the information provided in the staff report of the Office of Bullitt County Planning and Zoning, and the testimony and evidence presented at the public hearing held by the fiscal court. And whereas the fiscal court concurs in and adopts the reasons of the Joint Planning Commission for said zoning change and approves and accepts the recommendations of the Planning Commission in this matter as set out in said minutes, and determines that the proposed zoning change is acceptable and should be approved. And now therefore be ordained by the fiscal court of County of Bullitt, Commonwealth, Kentucky, Section 1, the above property located in the unincorporated area of Bullitt County, and more particularly described in the minutes and records of the Planning Commission in docket number 2021 Z-10, is hereby changed from conservation to R1 residential. Section 2, this ordinance shall take effect upon passage and publication as required by law. Section 3, should any section or provision or part of this ordinance be declared unconstitutional or invalid for any reason by a court of competent jurisdiction, then the remainder of this ordinance shall not be affected and shall remain in full force and effect. Section 4, all ordinances and resolutions to the extent they are inconsistent herewith are hereby repealed. Given first reading and public hearing by the Bullitt County Fiscal Court on the 6th day of April 2021, to be given second reading and voted upon at a regular meeting of the Bullitt County Fiscal Court on the 20th day of April 2021.
thank you, Rob. Anyone here to speak for zoning ordinance 2021 Z-10? Merrill and Deanna Hanson. Anyone here to speak against zoning ordinance 2021 Z-10? Merrill and Deanna Hanson. Hearing none, members of the court, any discussion? Thank you, Rob. Action item number 3, we're requesting to hire Christina Wright as a part-time paramedic at $25 an hour, effective today, April the 6th of 2021. I will make that recommendation.
Second motion.
And I have a second by First District Magistrate Mitchell. Any discussion, members of the court? Hearing none, Sam, call the roll, please.
Mr. Logston,
Yes.
Mr. Laswell,
Yes.
Judge Summers,
Yes,
Mr. Mitchell,
Yes.
motion carried.
thank you. Number 4, action requested on resolution 21-02, adopting and approving the execution of the rural secondary program.
Put in form of motion.
Second.
Got a motion by First District Magistrate Logston, a second by First District Magistrate Mitchell to approve the resolution 21-02, adopting and approving the execution of the rural secondary program. Sam, call the roll, please.
Mr. Laswell,
Yes.
Judge Summers,
Yes,
Mr. Mitchell,
Yes.
Mr. Logston,
Yes.
motion carried.
thank you. Action item number 5, actions requested on the rural and municipal aid program agreement.
I'll put that in the form of a motion that we accept that.
Okay,
Second motion.
got a A motion by Second District Magistrate, excuse me, Logsdon, a second by First District Magistrate Mitchell to approve the fiscal court, myself, to sign the rural and municipal aid program agreement. Any discussion, gentlemen? Sam, call the roll, please.
Judge Summers,
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell,
Yes.
Mr. Logston,
Yes.
Mr. Laswell.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Do we have any sign-up speakers, Ms. Renfro or Sam?
I don't have any.
Is there anyone outside of it? Ms. Renfro, do we have any speakers signed up? No? Okay. At this time, Magistrate Mitchell, your comments?
I had one thing. We had a situation. I came in Thursday and everything. Of course, the agenda was already filled up and everything. And we had actually it was a speed limit sign and everything that was tore down on Brooks Station Lane there in Brooks. And the original the sign that was torn down was a 25-mile-an-hour speed limit sign. So the gentleman and everything goes out from the road department, and Robert called me in regards to this, and another lady called me in regards to when they put the sign back up. It showed in the book and everything that the court years ago had authorized that road and everything as a 15-mile-an-hour speed limit. Well, for all these past years, it's been posted as a 25. 15 is way too slow and everything on this road. It's a real good road. It's wide. It's got a length to it and everything. And I'd like to make a motion that we put that back to the 25, which is a request by the property owners out there that they've lived with for years and everything. Instead of 15-mile-an-hour sign coming up, said that this way too slow and everything on that road. So I'd like to put it in form of a motion that we post that sign back to the 25-mile-an-hour speed limit sign on Brooks Station Lane.
I'll second that.
Okay. At this time, we have a motion on the floor to increase the speed limit from 15 to 25 mile an hour on the road requested by Magistrate Mitchell. And we have a second by Magistrate Logsdon. Any other discussion? Sam, call the roll, please.
Judge Summers,
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell,
Yes.
Mr. Logston,
Yes.
Mr. Laswell.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Anything else, Magistrate Mitchell?
No, I'm fine right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Magistrate. Magistrate Logsdon.
I don't have a lot. No, I hope everybody had a great Easter. I do want to congratulate Bullitt East High School. They've done a phenomenal job this year and still playing. The girls are, but the boys went to the state tournament last week. The girls are playing, I believe it's tomorrow. So both of those teams have done exceptionally well. Baseball teams down at Myrtle Beach. That's actually where I'm at. But the baseball team's playing down in Myrtle Beach. So Bullitt East High School is doing some great things over in my district. And I just want to congratulate the men's and women's teams, and the women, they're still playing in the state tournament. So good luck and best wishes to them.
Thank you, Magistrate Logsdon. Magistrate Laswell.
I don't have anything. All's good.
Thank you, Magistrate. And I do have a few closing comments. I know y'all probably saw in the Pioneer News, the University of Louisville, whom we've been partnering with for the last year since they've been out here with our commitment to staging an ambulance out there 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. And they're going to be pursuing a KAR for a 60-bed facility. And we'll be hosting some, what I'm gonna say, community meetings to make sure that this opportunity for them goes through, as we're the largest county in the Commonwealth of Kentucky that A, doesn't have a overnight medical facility. And also we're the most underserved because when you look at the amount of ALS runs that we do make to Louisville, you can tell that this community is very underserved. The second thing is this month is Autism Awareness Month. And you know that we have our latest and greatest state-of-the-art ambulance that was themed in autism as well. Also, magistrates, you should have a copy of the jailer's budget, and it'll be there for your review with the April 20th meeting as well. And on a two really good notes here. Hope Savory, she is a basketball player for the women's team at the University of Western Kentucky. She was Conference USA's Freshman of the Year this year, which is quite the compliment to Ms. Savory from here in Bullitt County. And also on a indifferent note, we're sad to lose Director Harden. Director Harden of both EMS and EMA. He retired March 31st of this year. And we will have some salary recommendations for, as we're not replacing Director Harden at this time, but for Justin Moore and Eric Cook. Justin will be leading the EMA side, and Eric will be leading the EMS side. At this time, though, that's my closing comments. I hope everybody had a great Easter, and we look forward to the brighter days to come here in Bullitt County as we have more vaccine available. At this time, Magistrate Mitchell, what time is it?
Make a motion that we adjourn the meeting on April the 6th.
Second.
And I have a motion to adjourn by Magistrate Mitchell on April the 6th. A second by Magistrate Laswell from the 3rd District. At this time, Sam, call the roll, please.
Mr. Mitchell,
Yes.
Mr. Logston,
Yes.
Mr. Laswell,
Yes.
Judge Summers.
Yes,
Motion carried.
meeting's adjourned, and we'll see you all the 20th. Thank you.
Good week, everybody.